Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/Entitled People, where you'll hear stories about people who truly believe that the world revolves around them and that nobody else matters. Oh boy. So, the lineup in today's episode is absolutely insane, my friends. You'll hear about an entitled woman who wears her own wedding dress to somebody else's wedding, a mother demanding OP change his dog's name, a customer who demands the store be open on Christmas Day, a crazy sister who wants to share OP's child, and we'll finish off with a woman who does not believe in tipping high school dropouts. How ridiculous. Wowee. My friends, strap yourselves in because we're about to dive in. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for future stories. I've been stewing on this story for a few years now, and decided it was time to finally voice it out. This story happened back in the beginning of 2017, so the cast is John, my brother, Jane, my sister-in-law, Susan, my half-sister, and me. Back in 2016, my brother announced that he and his girlfriend of many years were engaged and were planning on having a wedding the following year. They gave 9 months notice to people who would be invited and also told what the color theme for the wedding would be, which was purple. In that time between the announcement and the wedding date, I was easily able to order a dress from an online retailer in London, have it sent to me, and still had time to replace it if I needed, which I did not. So, 2017 comes and the wedding weekend has arrived. The wedding was absolutely gorgeous. Sunny day, on the beach, and I couldn't help but cry because my work of a brother was actually marrying the mother of his children and the love of his life. He had never seemed happier. John and Jane had 3 kids together, and the older 2 were flower girls, which was sweet. Now, John is technically only my half-brother. We share a mom, but not a dad growing up. It was my dad who raised John and me, so to him, my dad was his dad. My dad, prior to marrying my mom, had a first wife and a couple of kids with that wife, including Susan. John and I have always had some issues with Susan. She was only my half-sister, not John's, but he still included her in the wedding as a family member and a guest. I hadn't noticed at the time, as I was too caught up in the whirlwind of my brother's wedding ceremony, but Susan wasn't wearing purple. No, she was wearing white. To be specific, she was wearing her white wedding dress to someone else's wedding. John and Jane were pissed, especially Jane. So, cue the reception. Some people have changed clothes, and it was my first ever wedding, so I didn't think that far ahead and still wore my soft lilac dress without a problem. While everyone ate and shared some drinks, people interacted with the bride and groom, what I assume to be normal wedding things. But Susan. Oh, Susan. She was feeling extremely sad and lonely because no one was paying attention to her, the 30-plus-year-old woman who wore her wedding dress to someone else's wedding. I wonder why no one wanted to interact with her. Susan began crying maybe halfway through the reception, openly, loudly, and in a way that clearly begged for someone to come notice her. Now, I'm a nice person, so I tried to be the good half-sister and bit the bullet to go sit with her for a little while, asking her what's wrong. Susan said, "No one is paying attention to me." Me, while staring at her confused a little, said, "What do you mean?" Susan responds, "Everyone's talking with John and Jane, but nobody is talking to me. And when I try to speak with John and Jane, they don't talk to me." I sighed internally and couldn't help but wonder how she could not connect the dots. I said, "Susan, it's their wedding. Of course everyone's going to be talking to them, and they're going to be busy." Susan says, "I don't care. I'm John's sister, so he should talk with me more." Actually, lady, you're not his sister. I am, but whatever. I was able to slip away and spend some time with the other family members who weren't acting as if this day was all about them. After the ceremony, Jane admitted to me that she was livid about how Susan wore the wedding dress. She had plenty of time to plan for the wedding and get appropriate attire, but when finally confronted, Susan said she had no other dress that she could wear. This is perhaps a boring tale to most, but even 3, nearly 4 years later, I'm still pissed at my half-sister for doing that. My mom, John, and Jane are also pissed about it still. I've since cut contact with Susan. She and I have never had a good bond anyway, and as far as I could see it, we just shared a dad. But I almost never had to deal with my dad's previous family. As far as I know, John and Jane have limited contact with her, but can't be helped as they live in the same city as her now, while I happily live in a place where an ocean is between me and her. What in the world? That is some crazy entitlement. Wearing her own wedding dress to someone else's wedding and crying that nobody's paying attention to her, that is absolutely ridiculous. My friends, what is the craziest thing you've ever seen anybody wear to a wedding? I'd love to know. This is so ridiculous and happened to me like 10 minutes ago. I couldn't walk home fast enough to get to Wi-Fi and share this. So background info, I live in Argentina. I'm an advanced student in English teaching. I have 4 dogs and one of them is named Monkey. So before lockdown was enforced and made mandatory back in March, I used to tutor a kid who was 5 years old in English. He would be starting English classes at school this year, and his mom, entitled mother, had wanted him to have a head start in comparison to the other kids in his class. The entitled mother said that the kid was insecure about starting school and wanted him to feel accomplished and smart by being ahead of his classmates. Weird logic, but okay. She was paying me good money and the kid actually showed interest in the language and all the activities I did with him, so tutoring him was actually enjoyable for the both of us. So fast forward to today. I took my dog Monkey for a walk today, and we ran into the mother and the kid at the park, and the kid was thrilled to meet one of my dogs at last. Since I've talked to him about them before and showed them pictures, he was very polite and asked what her name was, how old she was, and if he could pet her, etc. When I told him that my dog's name was Monkey, he was thrilled to let me know that he knew what the word meant because they had learned about different animals in his classes during the year. Now, the mother was less thrilled to know that I had named my dog another animal. She started asking me why I would do that. If I did it just to show off my skills in English, if I was aware it could be confusing, and so on. I asked her what she meant by confusing, thinking that she meant the gender of my dog, but she said, and I'm quoting, "Why would you try to confuse my son by naming a dog as another animal? He's trying hard to learn things in English because you prompted him to, and now, whenever he hears the word monkey, he'll think of your dog." I tried to explain to her why I had chosen that name for my dog, but she went on about how I should change my dog's name to something more dog-like, so children like her son would not feel confused about animals. She was very insistent on names that I should call my dog, even telling her son to try calling Monkey other names to see if she responded. And I almost told her I could probably call her name something else instead because she was being a bitch after all. No confusion there. But I refrained because her kid was there and I did not want to deal with her getting angry at me in public. The mother realized there was no win for her in the issue and quickly said some greeting, took her kid, and left. What a silly lady. Hey, why don't you change your dog's name because it's confusing my little kid? A dog should not be called another animal. This lady would probably flip out if she heard that my dog's name is Tofu. And here's a sweet picture of the guy for all who care. So back then, a couple of years ago, before I changed departments and went to a gas station, I was a cashier at a local grocery chain. I had the misfortune of working Christmas Eve. Luckily, I worked in the morning and was out by 12 o'clock noon. I'm working the till, and that Christmas Eve morning was actually raining and cold. I was near the exit, so I would constantly get a breeze of cold, wet air. I had been working there the past 4 days, so I could get the following week off and be able to hang out New Year's Eve. Things were going smooth when I had my first difficult customer of the day. We'll call her Snobby Lady. I said, "Hello, find everything all right?" Snobby Lady says, "Yes. Yes, I did. It's nice and cold outside, but I'm not liking the rain." I told her, "Yeah, it is. Me either. Hopefully it doesn't rain tomorrow on Christmas Day." The Snobby Lady says, "I know. I'm gonna have to come back here early to get some more things for lunch and dinner for my family tomorrow. Just a note, we are closed Christmas Day. We always have been. We have signs on every single cash register stating that we are closed and will open the next day." I said, "Oh, well, you should get those items right now or later today. We're gonna be closed tomorrow. It's Christmas Day." She says, "Oh no, I'll just come tomorrow." Ma'am, we're closed tomorrow." "What do you mean you're closed tomorrow? It's Christmas Day. I have things I need to buy." And she demands to speak to the manager. At this point, I was like, great. I shouldn't have said that. My manager shows up to speak to her and asked how he can help. The Snobby Lady says, "Your employee," while looking at my name tag, "said you are closed tomorrow. I demand the store be open. I have things to buy and I am the customer." The manager told her, "Sorry ma'am, but we have signs posted all over the store stating that we're closed and the signs have been up for 2 weeks now. I suggest you buy what you need now." She was quite taken aback by this response and she says, "I know, and I will make sure you and OP will get fired for turning away a customer. Enjoy being jobless on Christmas." He paid little to no attention to her and asked her to leave the store if she was going to continue to harass him and his employees. Okay, so this happened a few years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday, and to be honest, I still can't understand what my sister was thinking. So, a little backstory. My sister and I have had to share everything as kids. Not to mention, I was forced to be her and our younger brother's second mother, but I'll put that in a different post. For some of my childhood, I was happy to share things with my sister. We would share sweets, snacks, toys, the normal kid things. There's 4 years between us. I'm the oldest, and as you can probably guess, when I reached my teen years, I wanted my own things and to spend time alone. And nope, she wanted me to do everything with her. I could barely spend 10 minutes in the bathroom before she would start banging on the door. Unfortunately, when I was around 15, my siblings and I were taken into foster care. We were separated from our brother, and it was difficult for the both of us, and for a while, I didn't mind my sister wanting to spend all her time with me. Shortly after my 16th birthday, I wanted to have my own space, and things that are, well, mine. She would argue with me over not sharing my stuff, and of course, typical sibling fights and yelling happened almost every other day. We sort of outgrew our sibling squabbles over the years, but she kind of developed the world owes me attitude, which drove me crazy. I did my best to hold in my frustrations, but I'm human, and sometimes I kinda snapped. A couple years after my daughter was born, my sister and I were not really talking much because of her selfish attitude towards me, and how most of my time and income were spent on my daughter. During one of the times that we were on good terms, she was over for the weekend and everything was okay. Until a conversation led to her telling me that she was gonna take my daughter for a week because she wanted to spend time with her because it was her turn. I said, "That's not gonna happen. She's my daughter. She's not a doll or a pet we share." She gets mad and starts yelling. I told her to leave and she argues that she had parental rights and social services will force me to allow her to take my daughter whenever she wants. I laughed, and I told her to get out and don't come back. Honestly, I don't know if she seriously thought that it was her right to have my daughter. I've got plenty of other insane stories about my family, which I may post about at some point. Thanks for reading my crazy story. And a crazy story it was, OP. Guys, so I've read a lot of these entitled people stories, and it always baffles me when people treat others like objects and think that they're entitled to share them. Holy cow. So, I barista at a small cafe 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's a great job with great hours for my college schedule, and the customers are generally fantastic. In fact, the 8 months or so I've been on the job, I've only dealt with a small handful of rude customers. So this lady from about 2 weeks ago was one of those people, and her comment still baffles me today. Before I continue, I must explain how our point of sale system works. We use something called Square, which uses the iPad for processing credit and debit cards. It's really neat, and comes with a lot of features, like the Guilt the Customer into Tipping tool, which forces non-tippers to select no tip before they can sign their name to authorize the sale. Most people don't mind, and think it's neat, and it really boosts our tips. Except Clueless. Clueless thinks she's being forced to tip, not noticing the no tip option, and proceeds to yell at me and berate me. Brief conversation with her. Clueless says, "What's this? I have to leave a tip for some high school dropout? Cancel the order. Cancel everything. I'm never coming back here again. This is extortion." I said, "Ma'am, there is an option below the dollar amounts you see that allows you to process the transaction without appending a tip. Here." I proceed to help her find it, and she says, "Oh, I see now. You're trying to make me feel like a bad person. Well, it hasn't worked, missy. I don't believe in tipping high school dropouts who refuse to get some education and a real job. I haven't tipped anyone in the last 10 years. I asked her, "Okay, did you still want to cancel the order?" She says absolutely, and give me back my credit card. She leaves in a rage, and I wish her a good day, and she tells me that she's gonna have a bad one just to spite me. I hate people. What an odd thing to think. Let's not tip anybody that works in the service industry, because I like to think they're all high school dropouts without real jobs. Oh my goodness, Karen. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /entitled people. We survived. Guys, if you missed the last episode, a woman goes on a rampage and tries to burn down a store because they denied her expired coupon. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you. I mean it.